Mind the gap, because if you're feeling stuck, I got some good news. God will make a way where there seems to be no way. Welcome to Time Out with PC. My name is Pastor Cherie, and we are here together today to talk about Mind the Gap. And so, the space is there for a reason in some situations, but in all of life's situations, we sometimes don't feel comfortable with a gap between where we are and where we want to be. So in London, there's an underground tube line, and, the train comes by really fast, picking up loads of passengers. And then from the track to the platform is sometimes a pretty wide gap. And so written on the ground, as well as when people are getting ready to get off the train, they say, mind the gap. In other words, pay attention to the gap. Don't fall in the hole. So, and a lot of times in life, we are in a place where we're not where we want to be, and we call that place the gap. So we all face gaps in one way or another in other areas, in different areas of our lives. So I'd like to give you a few examples. So you may be in a relationship that with your spouse, and it's not that it's bad, but you'd like for things to be better, more intimate, more connected, and so there's a gap there. So that's something that needs to be worked on. It could be a stagnant relational gap, and that may require a little more work for you. So we're going to work on that. Maybe with your child, there's a gap in the relationship where there's just a disconnect, and you want to close that gap. You want there to be open communication and understanding. And so maybe there's a gap in your marriage, and so you're not enjoying the depths of fellowship and relationship that you used to have. So that's going to require a little bit of maybe education and work on your part. Maybe you want to be in control of your life, but the gap is personal between where you are now and where you want to be. It's about your personal goals, the way that you think and act, the way you feel emotionally. Maybe it's about accomplishment. Maybe there's a gap between what you're doing and the results you'd like to see happen. So we're presenting this problem of we've got these situations in life with people, with relationships, with things that we're doing, and we're not where we want to be. And this can cause a disconnect. So minding the gap, that word mind is almost like pay attention, an awareness, a thoughtfulness about what you're doing. Other people are stuck in patterns. They have a gap in their personal patterns, and they're unable to change ways of thinking and behaving, living in a defeat when they are not able to achieve their best results. For example, a person may not be able to lose weight because they have destructive eating patterns. And so there's a gap there in between what their desires and the results. Still, others experience personal emotional gaps. They're reminded daily of the gap between how they feel and how they really want to feel. And so maybe you're dealing with depression, disappointment, discouragement, maybe even anger. So this is not where we want to end up. So this is going to require some change, some work, some information, and some help, because we come to the end of ourselves. Maybe there's a gap between you and your relationship with God. You're wanting to recapture your childlike excitement and just about being in the presence of God and being with the people of God. And, you're looking for a group of people and that you can connect with so you can begin to grow. So if you're in the gap somewhere in any of these instances and you're feeling stuck between disappointments and your hopes and dreams for life, I've got some good news for you. And the good news is that God will make a way when there doesn't seem to be a way. But that's if you call on him, if you find out what his thoughts are for you. But however, there's so many people can't see God's way because they don't even believe there is a way. So one of the main obstacles that we have to deal with in gaps is failing to believe a way exists. So most of us don't have difficulty simply believing God, but then we have trouble trusting him that to really step out and act on what his wisdom is telling us. So, we're living in a day when Christians who live by faith are considered foolish, because people don't believe that really has any reality on the problems that they're dealing with in their everyday life. They don't really believe that following God's steps, patterns that he suggests in the word are going to get us from point A to point B. So then we're left to our own devices, and we're losing out on all the help that God wants to give us. So living by faith is not foolish. When people ask me, do you really believe the Bible is true? I quickly say yes. They say, do you believe in the virgin birth? I quickly say yes. Do you believe in the resurrection of Jesus and all the saints? Yes, yes, yes. So if I believe those things, then I'm going to believe that everything, all the wisdom that he gives me is going to help me reach where I need to go. And so that's going to fill the gap for me. Now listen to what the psalmist said. The Lord is near to all, not just a few, to all who call upon him, to all call upon him in truth. He fulfills the desires of those who fear him, and he hears their cry and saves them. Now that's Psalm 145. So I don't think you're watching today by coincidence. There's so many ways God will help you fill the gap in these areas in your life if you'll just believe and trust him and know that your best days are ahead in him. I'll see you back next time on Time Out with PC. Thank you for joining me today. I'd like to ask you to do me a favor if you would like, subscribe, or share this podcast with others. And don't forget that next week you can tune in for a new episode. I'll see you then.